Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe are two sides of the same coin. Both were the first global superstars of their gender, both icons of the 50s, Americana, and fame itself. Both remain two of the most famous people who ever lived, famous more for their existence than their work. You will not meet a single person on the street who has not heard of them. But few could name more than a handful of songs or movies by the pair. Both also had biopics this year, but unfortunately only one of these movies is any good. Blonde is at times actively hateful, and two films highlight the differences in the way we treat our male and female heroes. In this video, we'll be comparing the two films, so stay tuned. Elvis is not a perfect movie. In many ways, it has all the worst traits of Baz Luhrmann's filmmaking. It's nauseatingly slick, bombastic to a fault, and built around moments of storytelling, causing it to lose steam in the final act. But it cherishes Elvis Presley, the man. Andrew Dominic Bluntz's director, on the other hand, once dismissively asked if anyone even watches Marilyn Monroe movies and called Monroe's movie Gentlemen Prefer Blondes a story of well-dressed whores. He also admitted that after making two movies centered around men, he wanted a female focus for Blonde. Unfortunately, he seems to resent his subject so much that it poisons it so absolutely. While Dominic perhaps has a point that not as many people watch Monroe movies as know her stature, as someone who has seen every Monroe movie since 1951's As Young As You Feel, as well as a handful from before like All About Eve. It's disappointing that the life story of the most magnetic film stars ever to grace the screen completely dismisses her work. The only movie that gets any real focus is 1954's Don't Bother to Knock, where she made her breakout as deranged babysitter Nell. Unfortunately, this focus tells us Monroe only got the job because she had a nice figure, while dismissing one of her most beloved cult hits as B-movie schlock. There is no affection here. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, one of her most successful films, is highlighted only to show that she's dumb and signed an inferior contract to tell us point blank that abortion is wrong. Some Like It Hot, generally thought of as her best performance, is used to show us that she's a coke-out whore. There's no subtlety in this. If you watch the unfinished cut of Something's Got to Give, the movie Monroe was halfway through filming when she died. You see Marilyn turn back into Norma Jean where the camera stops rolling. It's tragic, endearing, highlights the pain within her, and a brain hardwired to believe the show must go on. Contrast this with Elvis, whose career is elevated. It's a story of his ascent to the top, while Blonde is a story of her plummet to the bottom. Luhrmann pulls out deep cuts like Trouble and If I Can Dream, celebrating Elvis's legacy. It's also important what they don't show. Presley's great humiliations was when his management tried to give him a clean-cut image, performing hound dog in a dinner suit and a pooch alongside him. This is not shown. Only the aftermath, where Elvis rises above it. His increasingly hokey film career is zipped over, and his famous death on the toilet is left to our imaginations. Even his later years as an overweight drug addict is sympathetically framed. Monroe is treated with disdain from the outset. The core theme of Elvis, meanwhile, is that Presley was once in a generation talent who is manipulated and abused into seeing it all blow up. The core theme of Blonde is that Monroe is stupid and has daddy issues who only ever got famous by effing her way to the top, and her life's work doesn't matter. While Blonde isn't based on a true story, it doesn't even follow the novel, wherein her death is markedly different in a way that changes the core themes of the story, and that's frankly no excuse for the narrative to be so hateful towards her. When Elvis decided to launch his comeback special, he was not really sitting in the rusted-out Hollywood sign. It was a symbolic choice. In Blonde's almost 3-hour runtime, Monroe undergoes 2 abortions and loses a pregnancy. The latter is somewhat based on true events. The real-life actress did suffer from ectopic pregnancies and miscarriages through her life and never had children. However, there is no proof she had an abortion. There is no evidence that Darryl Zanuck, Monroe's film producer, raped her either. He was known as a flasher, but there's no evidence Monroe experienced what is depicted in Blonde. There is also no evidence that Monroe met Edward G. Robinson Jr. until the 60s, though she did briefly date Chaplin. What's more telling is not that these are made up, but that all 3 of them lead to a reductive view of women that even Marilyn Monroe cannot escape. Clearly, Elvis, the more accurate movie, and the criticism Blonde received is totally deserved. That's all for this video. Hope you enjoyed watching this one. Thank you for watching.